Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
Happy New Year. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And glad you're aboard. Here we are in 2023. Brittany, holy mackerlandy.
I am starting to feel old.
Oh, please. Give me a break. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. We certainly did. So I'm the late Bill Edwards. And glad...
I just mean like you, when you're little, you don't think of 2023 just seemed like the future, you know. I guess we're here. I mean, they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff with transhumanism and stuff. So we might be cyborgs in the next 10 years anyway.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I can remember when I was in elementary school and they were talking about, and this is the late 50s. They said, "Boy, in the year 2000, I wonder what things are going to be like." And we'll be able to see things any clearer in the year 2020. And well, 2020 turned out to be a real bust.
2020 was supposed to be this amazing year.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
boy,
I know.
were we.
I know. Good buddy Harry O'Donoghue, one of the great troubadours, Irishman turned Savanian, he said he was going to have his biggest year. He'd been booked on all these cruises. He'd been booked in places in Europe. He'd been booked in places all over America, and everything gets canceled.
It was a big year, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Not in the way we were hoping for, but
and they're and the Democrats are trying to bring it back.
I have heard that they're still trying to mask children.
Yeah.
In public schools
and in some places, yeah. I think Philadelphia and New York. And so get ready because you're going to hear a lot about that. The people who don't get it are the ones who are getting the biggest end of the stick.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting. They can't figure out why people are leaving New York in a mass exodus.
Mm-hmm.
Governor Hochul, she's just so confused by it.
And they were stupid enough to elect this woman to a full term.
Well, I mean, we could go into that later. I don't know if she may have been selected, not elected, but Lee Zeldin did a great job. He ran a great race,
didn't he? Though and got a lot of Republicans, like even a guy who wasn't exactly, shall we say, vetted.
Yes, that guy has turned into. But
he's told so many lies. He should be a Democrat.
Well, I'm like, Democrats can't be mad.
They can't. But of course, they're going to be. They feign all this. Their selective outrage is amazing.
Well, here's the thing, Bill. Do you think that he should resign based off of the fact that he's told plenty of lies? Do you think he should resign?
Actually, I do.
See, and I'm like, you know what? If he's good on policy, I mean, because it will reduce our our majority in the House. Which,
I understand.
So sometimes I want to win more than, and I think that what he did was wrong. I absolutely do, but he's lied as much as Joe Biden. I mean, and I'm not saying that makes it right, but at the end of the day, we have to start winning as Republicans, and that means we need to play by their rules, and that means that, if he's good on policy, okay. Once he's bad on policy, okay, he can leave.
And the Republican Party should say something about that because they've been silent as the Sphinx as far as the leadership goes, and I hope the leadership is going to change pretty soon. They're going to need to do something different if they want to win any more elections. I
mean, Kevin McCarthy, that's going to be interesting today, Bill.
It is. And listen, this is the last, and he's even kind of acquiesced and said, look, you can give me a no confidence vote after 6 months if you don't like what I'm doing. And I think that ought to be a good compromise because the last thing we need is infighting among the Republicans and you don't get to see who the speaker is going to be and it winds up being another Democrat because that's a possibility under the rules. So the Republicans better get their act together. Let's unite because that's what the Democrats do. If you notice, they never criticize another Democrat. And they circle the wagons around these people who have committed the most egregious errors. Imagine if a Republican had been found sleeping with a communist Chinese spy. Imagine if we had a Republican who had been lying about a certain president for 4 years, saying that they had affidavits, and when we're requested to see the affidavits, never showed them.
Bill, the thing is we do not play by the same rules as Republicans and Democrats, and that's why I have kind of an issue with...
Learn to street fight.
Yes, and we've got to... I don't like Kevin McCarthy personally. I think that he has not shown that he's a strong leader, and for me, that's an issue. And I do think sometimes we, as Republicans, we are really good at making concessions. We are not really good at executing and getting our way. And I'm kind of the opinion that I don't like Kevin McCarthy, and he has made a lot of concessions, but unfortunately he's not trustworthy. He has played really dirty during these elections, and he's part of the reason we didn't have the red wave that we thought we'd have. So why do we always bet on a loser?
Well, right now, the thing is to get him in office and go along with the no confidence guarantee, and because the last thing we need is another Democrat in charge.
And I don't disagree with you, but I did hear that the Democrats will vote for Kevin McCarthy. So I have heard that there is something going on to where to get him to 218, they may get a couple of Democrats to vote for him. So I think Kevin McCarthy will be the new Speaker of the House.
I think so too.
I'm not a huge fan of that, but that's
we've been surprised sometimes and wrong before, because I thought that Paul Ryan was going to be a real lion. And turns out he wasn't even a pussycat. So I mean he acquiesced about everything.
Yeah, I mean Paul Ryan, one of the worst speakers of the House that we've had, lame duck. So very, very exciting.
Let's just see.
Do you know if he signed on for the single subject?
Not that I know of.
So I think that that's the other thing that would need to happen, because then he can send bills back to the Senate, and we don't have this omnibus crap that they passed last week, or the week before. So
hands are tied for a while.
Yes.
Nevertheless,
in Savannah, we got a new police chief.
We do. Congratulations.
Yes, he has been selected. He's been interim since July, and we'll see how he does here in Savannah. From what I hear, he's a nice guy.
Lenny Gunther is a first-class police officer and human being. And I think he will do a great job in leadership in the Savannah Police Department. They really do need it a little more. This policing, this neighborhood policing that they tried to come up with for the last several years just hasn't worked out as well as we'd hoped. Lenny needs to be a little more aggressive in how we take care of gangs and other problems that we have in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, he is up against the wall with a district attorney who doesn't want to prosecute anybody, and that is going to be one of his major hurdles. But as far as policing goes, he is a cop's cop, and he is a first-class person and a fantastic police officer. Glad that he's gotten the job. He needs to get put a few more teeth in some of the special forces, shall we say, that the police do have, and more arrows in the quiver, as we say.
Yes, I 100% agree. We need to get more aggressive, but also it's really hard for police to do their job when they're released as soon as they're processed. So it does make it very difficult for him. He does have a very difficult job, but hopefully we'll see some things change in Savannah in the next, I hate to say it, year or two. But it is very exciting that they have someone in that spot, in that position, and he can start building out from there. Did you... Here, on a lighter note,
yes.
Did you know that the number one search thing that Savannans search for, according to Google, is frozen margaritas?
Frozen margaritas.
We love margaritas apparently in Savannah. So
I'm glad I didn't discover him as a younger man, as a matter of fact. But because for me, a heavy night of drinking is sharing a second frozen margarita with my wife. But we have some great ones here. There are two fantastic. Especially restaurants, Mexican restaurants here, Jalapenos and Tequila's Town, that serve fantastic frozen margaritas. I have sampled them some places. Our daughter lives up in Charlotte, so we're up there occasionally to visit, and we'll go to some of the Mexican restaurants up there, order the frozen margarita, and it's just, they just something they've cooked up in a blender, and it practically no taste whatsoever. And haven't found anything close to what we have here in Savannah. So we're the margarita capital of the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, and according to Google, that's what we care about. So
there you go.
Go Savannah.
And it's green, so we can have them on St. Patrick's Day too. So that's always a good.
Yeah, it's perfect. It goes right in with the theme of Savannah.
For those of you who don't know, we have the second largest St. Patrick's Day parade in the world, and it is really quite the celebration.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that this year, Bill.
It is fantastic.
And we do have a comment here from Christina Benjamin, which I think is really important. She did say she agreed that people may have been selected into office But she wanted to bring light to something disturbing happening right here in our own county and city. Do you know Lonnie Kaufman?
Name sounds familiar.
He's a 71-year-old Vietnam veteran from Alabama who's being held at FCI 2680 in Jessup. He's inmate number 24695-509 and has been incarcerated since January 7th, 2021. There is a link here to write him, but she wanted to make others aware so we can plan as a team what to do what we can for this man. Like, I don't have the details as far as his story goes, but maybe we can start hearing more of his story in the link below and writing him and spreading the word. So we'll get that up and we will.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. He was part of the January 6th. He was in Washington. He was thinking about being in Washington. He thought he was in. He had a dream about being in Washington.
That could be.
January the 6th?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly his story, but I think that we can cover that more tomorrow, Bill, after we're able to take a deep dive into that. But
that's a big facility there. That is where, if you're familiar with the PTL club, that was a big, turned out to be one of those. It looked like a Billy Graham type thing, and then Jim Baker and his wife Tammy Faker Bay were actually charlatans who were taking people's money. They were false, shall we say, prophets, and Jim Baker that's where he served time after he was convicted for the PTL club. That turned into be a real piece of work, shall we say? These people were living the life of luxury, thinking that most people thinking they were contributing to this wonderful religious organization like Billy Graham had. Billy Graham's records were always open. You could go at any time. This guy, Billy Graham, was the real deal, and so was his son Franklin. But and Billy Graham was one of those. If he was standing in an elevator and there was another lady standing next to him, and the elevator opened up and and she gets on the elevator and there's nobody else there, he won't get on the elevator with her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't want any kind of
contact,
anything of that nature. That and this is long before the days of security cams that were everywhere. So. If she made some sort of false accusation, there was nothing. It was his word against hers. So.
Well, we've seen how that plays out, haven't we, Bill?
Yeah, we certainly have.
They can turn it into a circus very, very quickly.
Yeah, and he wasn't a Democrat, so therefore he couldn't have gotten away with it. Nevertheless, we'll be talking about that and more, and a very, very tragic situation in the NFL of a Buffalo Bills player that went down last night and is in critical condition after a hard hit. And we'll talk about that and more coming up next on Get Real America. Happy New Year.
At Get Real America, we'd like to thank the Southeast Georgia Republican Assembly for all their efforts on making a difference in our communities.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
Happy New Year. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hope you had a great Christmas holiday or Hanukkah celebration for our Jewish friends. And for those of you who are agnostic, I hope you had a good time. So,
wow. Thanks for that, Bill.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, that's why I'm here. Maybe the reason why I'm here. Yeah. Nevertheless, on an extremely serious note, we were enjoying bowl games yesterday. There was a blowout in the Citrus Bowl down in Orlando where Purdue got their head handed to them by LSU. But then there was a really good Rose Bowl game going on between Utah and Penn State, and but Penn State finally won, even though they're still using their practice uniforms. And so congratulations to them. But that was a pretty exciting game. Nothing to match the Georgia game.
I heard a lot of. Excited people about the Georgia game
against Ohio State. Listen, my hat's off to Ohio State because they played it was a shame somebody had to lose, and I felt so sorry for the field goal kicker at the end. Even though I was happy that Georgia won, you just feel sorry for this kid, even though because 2 other field goals I think were dead solid perfect, and you just knew that this thing was going to go right through, and Georgia was not going to be in the championship game, but. Champions find a way to win, and that final drive that they did to win the ball game, to go ahead by a point, and eventually, and which turned out to be the winning drive, was a thing of beauty, absolutely flawless.
Yeah, and
they left too much time on the clock.
Yeah,
it scored too soon. The announcers talked about that. What got me, Brittany, is the announcers were talking about this. Said they're playing with house money right now. And they need to take their time going in. There's no guarantee they're going to get in the end zone if you just keep it on the ground a little bit. We've seen these these goal line stands before. So there's no guarantee. Score when you can and hope the defense is going to come through at last, because they were not having a good night against Ohio State. But what a game. And even the one earlier, when TCU upset Michigan, that was a barn burner as well. So this is going to be a good game Monday night. I think Georgia better not take TCU lightly, or they're not going to win that championship trophy again.
Yeah, I think that college ball has almost become more exciting because it's like kind of that. There's no politics in it unless you hear FJB chants, but other than that, it's pretty much.
I have always enjoyed high school and college football more than the NFL, and since the NFL has become so woke, I could care less about them. Except last night, the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals were playing in Cincinnati. And one of the Buffalo Bills players, who was one of the stars, he was considered one of the best safeties in the business, 3rd year in the league, 24 years old, Damar Hamlin, took a hit to the chest, and normally when you see these guys go down, it's usually a spinal injury that you're worried about, broken neck, broken back, something along those lines, or at least sprains, severe sprains of some sort that could cause paralysis. This wasn't that. They started saying, well, they're doing CPR. So that's different.
Well, especially when the CPR continues to go on for over 9 minutes. Like, it was very scary for a lot of those guys. They have seen a lot of injuries, but nothing like that, which was scarier for a lot of them from from a lot of the coverage that I saw.
So this is one of the rarest of rare injuries because the heart rhythm can be interrupted by a blow to the chest, and that's exactly because he got up. Didn't look like that. It wasn't that vicious a hit. He gets up and then collapses.
And I think we have some video.
Yeah, that's an indication. So let's happen here. It's down. He gets back up. He's number 3. There he goes.
That's
And
there's the hit
see,
again.
I mean, that looks like a like your standard block.
See, and everybody's around him, and
And he gets right back
He
up.
gets right back up, and then
I mean,
So we'll take another break here in Cincinnati.
pretty crazy.
now what a tragedy. He's now in critical condition at the University of Cincinnati Hospital,
Yes,
where he
and-
was taken, and it shows you how we're at the game for entertainment. It's professional. We're enjoying this. It's an important game as far as playoffs
Yep.
go. Very important game, and they all of a sudden none of that matters. Both teams are out there kneeling, praying, crying, and fans are leaving and actually meeting. His mother was there.
His
she
parents,
rides
yeah.
in the ambulance with him to the hospital, and fans are gathering at the emergency room in show of their support. I understand some people called Ubers to take them to the emergency
Yeah.
room, and just to be there, and are praying for this young man right now. He's only 24 years old, and living the dream, and now it's turned into a nightmare on one of the rarest of rare injuries.
Yeah, and I think, these types of things, they really do bring people together. And I know that the person that ended up tackling him is just distraught about what happened. And
Well, actually, he was the tackler. He's a defensive player.
Yeah.
So whoever blocked him or anything
Yeah.
like that, you have to feel terrible, and they suspended the game itself.
and they don't have any idea when they're going to reschedule it. I mean, they're kind of, it's
And
not
such
being
an
talked about
important
right
game,
now.
You're
Yep.
thinking that they would, and people are criticizing the NFL. I've got a lot to criticize the NFL about.
Yes.
Not calling this game for 30 minutes was not one of them, because I can remember a New York Jets player who did suffer a broken neck, and they didn't stop the game. They one of the things that was so he recovered. The reason that he recovered is because of the great research that they have done at the Buoniconti Institute down in Miami, because Nick Buoniconti, who was a fantastic player and legendary player and then broadcaster for the Miami Dolphins, his son played for the Citadel and suffered a broken neck and was paralyzed. So it became a quadriplegic.
Wow.
And he established the Buoniconti Institute in Miami, studying spinal injuries. And the reason that this guy recovered is because they packed him in ice immediately, so the spinal column wouldn't swell. And when it gets bruised like that, and one of the reasons sometimes of the paralysis is because the spinal column swells and it hits those
Expands,
bones
yeah.
and is damaged irreparably. And they packed him in ice immediately, and the swelling went down so that they didn't. So he was able to recover. I don't think he didn't play football again, but
Right.
at the same time, that's the great thing that we do about research. This is different. This is cardiology here, and this was the heart rhythm being interrupted. And we had a young baseball player here, I think a Little League player, and if I'm not mistaken, Beaufort, about 12, 15 years ago, who was killed in a baseball game when he caught a line to arrive in the chest. And this is long before the days of portable defibrillators and things like that, and they really didn't know what to do. They got him to the hospital, and he passed away. But this is one of those injuries that you just pray. This happened we had a similar situation to this locally at Benedictine Military
yep.
School here, when a freshman collapsed on the field, and they worked on him for like 45 minutes before EMS finally got there, and EMS said that saved this kid's life. So congratulations to the two trainers at BC who saved this kid's life, working on him, waiting for EMS to get there. shortages and other emergencies taking precedent. But they got him there, and there was a great tribute paid to him when BC won the state championship again. And they even did a little story on it while the game was being broadcast, and showing him on the sidelines that he's making a full recovery. So, this young man could be making a full recovery. All the doctors that they talked to last night that I saw on Fox, some of the best, like Mark Siegel and things of that nature, said he is back at normal, and that he can because he's 24 years old.
Yeah, he's young.
Fantastic, and all these guys are in fantastic physical condition. They get the best medical people and best medical treatment and the best examinations, shall we say, as much as from anybody. And so our prayers go with this young man, and hope that he makes a full recovery and can get back on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do know that some players did not fly home last night. They decided to stay in Cincinnati to make sure that he makes a recovery. And I think it's good for people to be surrounded by loved ones. So I think that that's the risk of playing sports too. And, there's always a possibility for people to get injured.
There's no way to prevent injuries in sports. As Jim Gray, one of the great sportscasters, was saying last night, said, well, there's nobody at this point, the 16-game season, said there's nobody at this point who doesn't hurt somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a violent game with violent collisions, and so somebody's got, whether it's an ankle problem. Stetson Bennett the other night had to have his ankle re-wrapped in the ball game. And I was like, oh no, for Georgia. So everybody's got some sort of an injury at this point, and just working through it. And but there's no sport that is without injuries. Soccer has them. Everybody thinks I think one of the reasons that unfortunately soccer became popular in America was because they thought, well, it's not as violent as football for the young kids. So let's get out there. They just kick it around. Well, if you've seen some collisions in soccer, and also the header, is one of the most dangerous things in sports. It's a cool looking move when it works, but it's also it ain't good for the brain.
No, and wrestling, like where I'm from, they have a huge wrestling program, and fluke accident, high school wrestling, kid was paralyzed forever. I mean, just something fluke that happens.
You never know. It's a risk you take. You think it's worth the risk, and you want to have a good time. And most people, have wonderful, not careers, but at least through junior high school. I like junior high much better than middle school. Thank you very much. For whatever, and you want to have a good time, and you want to participate in team sports. It teaches you a lot.
So much.
Without a doubt. Unfortunately, there's no way to prevent all injuries, and sometimes it happens just like we saw last night. That can be extremely tragic.
Yes. So when we get back, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we are going to have a 2023 look ahead.
On the way.
I don't think.
At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
Gracias. Thank you.
What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care can keep families together. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Markiplier. I run a YouTube channel, but today I'm here to talk to you about the awkward moment in trying to talk to your friends. Mental health is an interesting subject because everybody knows about it, but nobody really knows how to talk about it. No matter how much experience you have, there's no easy way to tell your friend that they seem off. Me and my friend Tyler, we've known each other since 4th grade. When I reach out to Tyler, it's because I see him hurting, and I see him being affected by the pressures of his life, bringing him down, and he needs to hear that I'm there for him. As soon as you see that kind of person start to close off and throw up walls, that's when you know that something's going wrong. Tyler and I have such an understanding that the moment that we need to talk to each other, all we have to do is, hey, something's wrong with you. You need to talk about this. And then we start talking about it for a couple hours. For those who have new friends or just see the signs in someone and yet don't know them very well, that open dialogue is only welcome. If you really care about someone and you really want to help, you understand that the signs may be there and they may not want to talk about it. But it's always important to keep those lines of communication available. If not open, at least available. Let them know that you care enough to be there when they need it. Because there's times when I'm so closed off that I want to work on my own stuff. It doesn't hurt me or make me angry that someone says, hey, I noticed that you're stressed. I'm not going to intrude, but if you need to talk, we can go catch a movie or something like that. It can be that casual. As long as you acknowledge that it's there, it can lead to the help that is needed.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
Happy New Year. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And hope you had a great holiday season.
Yes, and if you were in Savannah, hopefully you caught the fireworks on the river. They are amazing.
They are. They also do it out at Tybee, right there at the ocean, and that's also something else. The only problem is Tybee's going to have to figure out a way about parking and getting big crowds. Of course, we've been trying to 4-lane the highway out there for, I think, since shortly after Oglethorpe landed. So it's been a battle, and I think we've finally gotten some things taken care of so that we can get a little larger access out there without maybe killing a fiddler crab and get that taken care of. So, but it's well worth the effort sometimes.
Yes, and yeah, getting off of Tybee sometimes when it's crowded is
well,
a little
there's
rough.
that too. Yeah. So I would recommend a helicopter or a ship.
Yes, and if you have one, let Bill and I know. We'd love to go out there with you.
Yeah, we sure would. Yeah, I'm glad to be your new best friends.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
Bill, 2022 was kind of a year of disappointments, I would say. There was a lot of disappointments. We had a lot of wins. Roe v. Wade, I think that was a big win, even though people have no understanding of what Roe v. Wade did. It didn't eliminate anything. It just made it so that the states could make decisions for their constituents.
Without a doubt. And I was so disgusted. Some television programs that I really liked have gotten so woke, and there was one of them that was, fortunately, it's in its last season, but they treated Roe v. Wade as all the doctors are in shock, all the nurses are in shock. They only had one person in there, a lady who was having a baby and said she was going to have that baby whether it killed her or not. And she was the only one standing up for the Roe v. Wade decision in this episode. And they're all talking about how bad this thing was and everything. And I'm like, golly. Knock
it just
it
makes
off.
you cringe. And I think the other thing is that they always say that they're standing up for women, but if you talk to women that have had children
or had abortions,
yeah, I think that you get a totally different story. And I don't know.
Buyer's remorse very shortly
yes.
afterward. I think that one of the ladies that I knew said when she saw one of her best friends from school or something celebrating her kid's 12th birthday or something like that, and her son or daughter could have been about the same age as that, she was beginning to think, I really shouldn't have done this. And there's that grief that never goes away.
And the guilt.
And the guilt that never goes away.
And they don't talk about that when they,
no, they don't.
And so I do think there needs to be some counseling and things like that for women that are even considering it, and they don't follow those procedures. And I think it does a lot of damage to the mental health of some of those women. So
one of the best organizations is that you hear Ben Shapiro and other people talk about the one where the lady, they actually go in and they hear the baby's heartbeat, and they said when they heard that heartbeat and they realized this is not a Cocker Spaniel.
Yes.
This is a child. This is a human being. And I always love this thing. Well, it's my body. Well, what about the kid's body? Because it's different. This isn't a tumor. Tumors don't have circulation systems and nervous systems and heartbeats, okay?
Well, and thank goodness for these ultrasounds, these 3D ultrasounds.
Exactly.
You can actually see that it's a baby very, very early on. And I think that that's made...
Huge difference.
Yes. Well, and I think the younger generations are more likely to be pro-life because of it, which I think is, thank goodness for science, even though most people like to deny it. Thank goodness for these ultrasound machines. And
Great organization called Thrive is one of them here in town, and they do a lot of these procedures for women that Planned Parenthood actually charges for. And that's what they'll do. They'll stand outside of Thrive people or others will stand outside of Planned Parenthood, and they'll talk to young girls who are going in and said, you realize you're going in for this, that, or the other. How much is it? You can come over here, and it's free.
Yep. And they, I think in the last 2 weeks they've saved 2 to 3 babies from what I saw from their executive director over there. Which, if you guys don't know Paula, she is
Paula's
something
the real
else.
deal.
She is something else. Paula Kennard at Thrive. She
A
is
force of nature, shall we say?
Yes.
And they have saved a lot of kids around here.
Yes.
And ones that wouldn't have afterward, and the people that I've talked to that said they were considering it, and then they had this great kid, and they said, wow, just think that almost they didn't. In fact, I knew a lady up in Charlotte who had adopted a beautiful young girl when her mother had gone into one of the OBGYN offices and wanted an abortion, and all the other doctors except the new guy who was just finishing his internship and was in his residency was talking to her. He said, my colleagues do abortions, I don't. But let me make a proposition for you, so to speak. If you will agree to have the child, I will treat you, I will be your physician through the entire process at no charge.
That's incredible, Bill.
And that's the reason that this young lady was alive. And I got to meet her at a convention, and she was 14 at the time, and she was drop dead gorgeous. She was already a champion car racer from these little, they're not go-karts or one little step above that, but at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, they actually race these things. She was a concert cellist.
Wow.
And I said, and I was looking at her, I said, yeah, she was maybe an hour away from never existing, and you're like, wow, and so you just, what is it that, there's a psalm that says, I knew you in the womb. This is a gift of God, and to destroy this life, and the fact that we have a society right now, this shows you how bad off we are at this point. Now we need to turn things around, and we'll never get back to the top till we get back on our knees. A society that actually glorifies killing children and thinking that's a good thing is not going to do very well as we go down the road. And once Jesus returns, I don't think he's going to look fondly upon those people.
No, I also think we've demonized women who want to be mothers. Oh, you just want to be a mom, like that's it. I think that's something that has really happened, and they have made people feel like they are less than if they are raising children. And raising children, I'm sorry, it is important to raise good humans. So moms have a very important role, and the fact that we have made it seem like it's less than, I think that it's a huge culture problem.
Yeah, and look how much better our society was when we had the two-parent household.
Well, and you could afford to have the dad provide and the mom stay home.
Mom stay home.
And the government has made it very difficult for people to have that ability to have one parent stay home.
Exactly.
So.
And it's because my mom was always home. When I got home from school, Mom was there.
Probably got a snack too, didn't you, Bill?
Yeah, I probably did. So, as a matter of fact, but well, maybe I didn't appreciate it so much at the time, but I do now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sorry I didn't let Mom know, while she was here, how much I appreciated it. So, until you're a parent, you don't know that stuff. I've not been a parent. I'm a grandparent, and I understand starting with the grandchildren is a much better idea. But nevertheless, I have so enjoyed being a grandparent, and with my stepchildren, I treat them as my own.
And that's the way it should be.
No, absolutely. So there was that for 2022. What about 2023, Brittany?
Well, one sec. We have Christina Benjamin, who also commented, Roe v. Wade was a big win. Thank you, Jesus, for answering the prayers of many. Thanks for getting the word out about where help is available for crisis pregnancies. And, I do think that's what is really important about our mission, is to make sure that people understand what help is out there, especially for these taboo topics such as abortion. So thank you, Christina, for watching. We appreciate you.
For sure. So what about the coming year? What can we expect? Let's look into the old crystal ball here.
Yes, I think that we have some exciting things happening in 2023.
We do.
And you and I always talk about space and how they really haven't done
The final frontier.
Yeah, well, we haven't focused on it. And it's one of those things that I think people can get excited about, but we haven't been. And so I think it's important that we look at what NASA has going on for 2023 and their accomplishments from 2022.
Sure, let's take a look.
We're never going to stop exploring the unknown in air and space. We're not going to stop innovating for the benefit of humanity and inspiring the world through discovery. 22 will go down in the history books as one of the most accomplished years all of NASA's history and missions. The golden age of space exploration. So much to look forward to in 23. Climate missions that will tell us about how our Earth is changing. Game-changing aeronautics developments with the 59 and the X-57, and the selection of the first astronauts to go to the moon in more than 50 years. And there's a lot more coming. There was a philosopher, a historian, someone who had a great grasp of the future named Carl Sagan, a scientist. And he said, exploration is in our nature. We began as wanderers and we are wanderers still. We have lingered long enough on the shores of the cosmic ocean. We are ready at last to set sail for the stars. We have set sail for the stars. Now we're going to reach out to the unreachable stars.
Well, you can thank President Donald Trump for getting us back involved and getting back going back to the moon and things of that nature. And hopefully, it's it's going to come to fruition. Brittany, I was so I lived through the excitement of the space race of when I was in the 5th grade when Russia launched Sputnik.
Oh my gosh!
And that was the big talk around school, and there was a worry because the Cold War was getting really frosty at that point, and a lot of people were saying, oh, the Russians are going to beat us to the moon, and they're going to attack. It was all people thinking they were going to attack us. So we had all these drills, but get under your desk. Yeah, that's going to help in a nuclear attack.
Yeah.
Boy, that desk is something else.
Oh.
So, and the excitement of it, and the competition that was going on, and getting us up in space, and then the Russians announced they had the first man to orbit the Earth, and we're like, oh God, they beat us again, and then we kept going, and we're the only ones who've been to the moon so far with a manned mission. And just the excitement of all that, and of course I heard all the naysayers. Well, we're spending all this money on this stuff, and there's a lot of things we could do down here. So all of that stuff helped us down here. Modern technology, you're walking around, this has more power in it that you carry in your shirt pocket than the entire computer system that took us to the moon in 1969.
It's
And
absolutely crazy, though.
it was, and just the excitement of it all. I was an ROTC cadet at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, at summer camp at Fort Bragg, North Carolina that summer, and they brought a TV into the billets. This is, back in the good old days.
Yeah.
An old black and white television that they brought in, and we watched this thing. They let us sit up and watch the moon landing, and the excitement was just overwhelming.
And I am excited for us to get back to that place, Bill, because I think that that's something that can unite people. It's very exciting. I love the energy, and guess what? It feels good to win.
It does. Imagine, the things that we've gotten out of the space. Or all you have to do is Google it, and if it weren't for the space race, there would be no Google.
Right.
You can look at that up and see just some of the spin-offs that we've gotten, whether it's artificial turf that we use for playing sports. Whether it is the hearing aids now that you sink in your ear and nobody knows you're wearing them, pacemakers, all the different defibrillator devices, just the great things that we have developed. Because Corning ware came from making the heat shields, the stuff that wasn't good for the heat shields. Corning said, "Oh, we can make dishes out of this stuff," and also modern appliances. The great advances that we made. The same way that, in the same way, I know this may sound like the running broad jump, but NASCAR has made in our lives because of the racing that was done when you put these engines under this enormous amount of stress and they break down and the engineers take it back and look at it and say, what failed? You hardly ever have an engine problem with a car anymore unless you just don't take care of the car.
Yep.
I can remember a time when to start an automobile, you didn't know if it was going to start or not. You hear this, finally we catch, good, it started this time. Now you press a button and boom. I don't remember the last time my car didn't start unless it was out of gas.
Yep, and modern technology is great. I think that people really should start having more critical thinking when it comes to things like that, Bill.
Yeah. And what else are we going to find? Maybe we're going to find some sort of minerals that we're short on here that we might find on Mars someplace or on an asteroid that we'll be able to mine and bring it back and have more of it so we can make more electric cars.
Yeah.
That's another subject.
We'll talk about that another day.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be right back after this break, and I think we will look at movies when we get back.
Yeah,
Keep
what's
it light.
coming up for the movies this year? Hopefully something you can take the kids to.
Get in touch with us at info@grenewsmedia.com, or you can give us a call at 912-376-9295. Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy New Year. Glad to have you aboard, and we're talking about the new year and what we can expect. Before we get to the movies, Brittany, I'll go back to NASA and all our space program. It's not just the moon mission. I had when I was doing my morning radio show, I had 2 conversations over a 5-year period with a wonderful scientist out at the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Lab in California, that keeps up with all of the tracking of our satellites and also the missions that go out to Mars and Venus and beyond. And she had been in charge, one of the chief scientists in charge of the Cassini Saturn program. And Cassini was absolutely spectacularly successful of taking all these pictures of Saturn. 20 years this thing orbited Saturn, taking all these beautiful pictures. And that was I believe it was the first time that we saw maybe it was the mission before that went to Jupiter. First time that we saw a moon, Jupiter's moon, Io, that had an active volcano. And we didn't realize, that was the first time that we'd seen an active volcano somewhere. There's a volcano on Mars, but it ain't active anymore. But they probably because of Martial warming. Nevertheless, but it showed all these great pictures. But what we learned from the Cassini mission, and how, and the first time I talked to her, they were getting ready Cassini was getting to the end of its life, and they were getting ready to plunge it into the Saturn atmosphere and destroy it. And it's like, she talked about it almost like it was her child, this wonderful mission, but it has to end. It's reached the end of its life, and we're going to send it down to Saturn and see and broadcast till the very end, and what we learned from that. And then I talked to her about 3 years after that, and I said, now that the dust has settled, and she talked about new missions coming up, and the one that we did to Pluto took almost 10 years to get there, and we had never seen Pluto before, even with Hubble. We just saw a little blurry picture, so we didn't know what to expect. We expected this ice world,
right? And
about 3 to 6 weeks before it was supposed to get to its destination, they lost contact with it. The NASA guy gets this call at 3 a.m, said, "We can't find it," and he's like, "What?" And finally, they did reestablish contact. Of course, as you know, the spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It gets to Pluto, and when it opens up and Pluto shows us its heart, and it shows all these things that they didn't think was going to, it was breathtaking. And this, I can imagine you sitting there. This is your job for 10 years. You're watching this device. It had to circle the Earth for 2 years to get a slingshot, the way physics works, get this slingshot effect to go to the moon, and then to pick up Mars and go past Jupiter, and any of the things, they could have been hit by meteors or something like that and destroyed. These things are flying tanks. I mean, they made them out of titanium and everything else, but just what they've done is just incredible. We're still in touch with Voyagers 1 and 2 that have left the solar system.
It blows my mind, Bill, that we've done all of these things, and yet, I hate to bring this up right now, but that we can't figure out that there's only 2 genders. It just blows my mind.
Or define what a woman is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. I'm like, when you hear how incredible and how they figured out how they have to launch these and how just the physics of everything, it just. It's so complicated.
It is.
And I don't think people realize how much work
it really is rocket science. Somebody says, this isn't rocket science. Well, this is.
It is rocket science. And I do know that SpaceX is planning to have 60 launches this year, which is incredible.
It is.
Elon Musk, man, he is a gem in a lot of ways these days. So.
It sure is. And just quickly, you can imagine the anticipation. How long does it take a signal to get to the satellite? Let's say, or to the device. Let's say it takes it 10 minutes to get that signal to it. Okay, you need a correction. Now you've got 10 minutes if you wait for it to get there. Now you've got to wait another 10 or 15 minutes
see if it corrects.
to see if you did it right. It's just amazing. Well, we got movies as well. Boy, those are something else too.
Yeah, they're very hit or miss these days, Bill. Sometimes they're good and sometimes they're terrible. So we do have a quick look forward on some of the movies. There's some one-liners in here that I thought were good. So
let's take a look, see what we got coming up.
You ready, John?
Yeah.
You know, the other guys don't do this, the guys with the white trucks. How come it's always you brown guys? And I don't mean that racially.
I've got something drawing like a colorless sorrow. And if the weather was warning, the stars are drifting in the shower.
The galaxy still needs its guardians. I'm done running.
How can you look so gloomy when you're gloomy? Howling looks so good to me. How can you look so gloomy when you're gloomy?
Get back.
Be my night. You take on everything.
What's it gonna be? Ant-Man.
You don't remember me, huh? Hey.
I'd be so reckless, but I just tremble instead.
I'm coming for everything. You threatening me? Let go of whatever was and walk into what is.
How can you look so gloomy when you're gloomy? Howling looks so good to me. How can you look?
I just threw a truck at a dragon. I love my life.
How can you look so gloomy when you're gloomy? Howling looks so good to me. How can you look so gloomy?
Miles! Want to get out of here?
Good to me.
There's a huge universe out there with a lot of galaxies. They're all counting on us. No pressure.
When you're gloomy, howling looks so good to me.
Well,
You're not going to see me at many of the movies.
no. Well, a lot of them look like they're remakes of older movies or a continuation of a series of movies. I don't think we need another Spider-Man. I feel like we've had like so many of them. But
Do you have any new ideas? Another Indiana Jones. I mean, okay, I enjoyed that, except the second one was a joke.
yeah,
The third one was kind of the apology.
yeah. Well, and I think the Tom Hanks movie looks funny.
Yeah.
We'll see how that one ends up. It could be that's the one funny thing in the whole movie, but you know, sometimes it's nice to look at what they have going on in the movies. I will say I've been rather disappointed the last several years. I think Maverick is one of the Top Gun Maverick was one of the best movies that's come out. Very patriotic.
I'm you know that it was as advertised.
Yes,
without a doubt.
I felt like it delivered. I was more. I was pleasantly surprised instead of disappointed. So
I was too.
They did a great job.
And it's just but you know, and here's the question, Brittany, who else is Tom Hanks going to play? You look back at his career. How many? He's played Walt Disney.
Yep.
He's played the astronaut, the Apollo 13, the astronaut there. He's played the Sully Sullenberger, and the landing on the Miracle on the Hudson.
Yep.
Yeah. Just how many?
Well, and then he was kind of he was on an island by himself. He basically had a whole movie with him in a
basketball.
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah. They became his best friend. He was a FedEx pilot.
Yeah.
They crash landed, and that was what was that? Was it wasn't Stranded? What was it? It was a one title thing.
I can't think of the name of that movie.
Yeah. But he's gone for 7 years, and
yes.
and finally gets back to civilization, and his wife is remarried and got a new life, and you sit there and you say, what if? What if you come back to your life and it ain't there anymore?
Well, and I think that's what we've gotten away from is movies that make you think.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also gotten to this pattern of we have to check all of these boxes, so the quality of the film doesn't necessarily matter. Just
make sure that there are enough people of color on the crew.
Yes, well, and that you have someone that is a lesbian or this or that, and they have to fit all of these categories and make these storylines based off of.
Or you don't get your movie made.
Yeah.
Or they're not going to distribute it.
Yeah.
You have to. So there's this political correctness that is. We warned a long time ago that it's going to destroy us. We've got to get a handle on. Hopefully, we'll get a handle on it in 2023, and that's what we're here for. And Get Real America is getting real. Somebody said, in fact, you said you had a conversation with somebody. Said we need more black doctors. No, we need more qualified doctor. I don't care if they're rolling me into the operating room and I need emergency surgery and everybody's black. I don't care.
It could be a blue avatar for all I care. If they're good at their job, let's do that.
It could be one of those robot surgeons that they had in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care.
Good at your job
done.
Yep.
Get me fixed and let me wake up.
Yep.
Jeez. It's pathetic that we've gone to these celebrating diversity. Celebrating diversity has done nothing but get us behind.
But I think that's the other thing. It's selective because when you look at someone like Ben Carson, which, side note, he is opening a bank with John Rich and Larry Elder, which is super exciting, called the Good Old Bank, I believe is what it's going to be called. So very exciting. But
and did you say they took his name off of one of the high schools or something up there in Detroit because he was a Republican?
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. I saw something, I do hang out on Twitter sometimes, and I sometimes respond to people. But one of the things is, you only care about prosecuting people for these things if they have an R by their name. If they have a D by their name, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And I think that's the problem. These people need to be held accountable. I don't care if they have a D, an R. I don't care if you're conservative, if you're liberal. I don't care. We should all play by the same rules. We should all live by the same laws. And we're going to party with Bill. Yes. So I think that those are the things that we really should, those are the things that should unite us.
Exactly.
Not divide us. And I think that, like I said, if you're a conservative, if you're a liberal, good. But you can't do certain things where I would be held accountable and you're not. That's not okay.
And what was the high school that told these kids who won National Merit Scholars, they didn't tell them that they'd won?
I did not hear that.
It was too late to get their applications in for college, and finally, when one of the parents raised a big stink about it, they finally let them know that they had won this, and because they were mostly of the Asian persuasion.
And how is that okay?
People of color.
How is that okay?
Yeah.
I think that we just need to start speaking up and saying the truth, and I think that we'll get, it's called Old Glory Break. Thank you, Steve Staten Sr. Appreciate you. You're always fact-checking me, which I definitely need. So, but I don't know, Bill. I think that there's 2023. I'm excited about the year. I think we're still going to have some losses, but I think that we have a lot of winning to do in 2023.
More victories, less defeats.
Yes.
That's what we're looking for, so we get to the bowl game and the championship. All right? And we will see you for the Wednesday edition tomorrow. I have to keep telling ourselves it's Tuesday.
Yes.
Those Monday holidays.
Yes. It's been a rough week already.
I had the same problem this morning. So we will see you for the Wednesday edition coming up.
See you tomorrow.